I want to go to Rick Grenell, who's our Senior Advisor for Foreign Policy and National Security, because, Rick, they will not give this up. The White House, on an issue that is politically damaging to them, does not want to give up the ability to potentially try and silence more American speech.
Look, everybody outside of Washington, D.C. sees what's happening. This is ridiculous. It's about dissenting information. The official line in Washington, the message from the ruling party, cannot have dissenting information. Look, we know we've taught our kids for 20 years to not be able to listen to the other side of the story, to run out of the room when they hear something that they don't like, and then to label it disinformation. It's really dissenting information, and we should push back. It's interesting, Jordan, that they don't use the word propaganda, because we all know what propaganda is. And this is not propaganda. This is a healthy debate, dissenting information from the ruling party. Nina didn't like that. We saw her videos. We saw her inability to have a discussion, but she just wanted the ruling party message to be swallowed hook, line, and sinker. And when you don't, when you dissent from what Washington, D.C. wants, they then try to cancel you.
So, Rick, I'm looking at this as a real challenge on free speech. I mean, the attempt was basically to set up a board that was going to review and audit, if you will, viewpoints. Now, I've argued a whole slew of Supreme Court cases going back all the way to the 1980s, 90s, into 2000, where the court consistently, most liberal justices of the court agreed, you cannot have government picking sides in these kind of debates. The government can provide a platform, can provide a venue, a forum for free speech, but it cannot then go in and say, we'll take this speech from this group, but not that speech, because that speech is too aggressive or it doesn't go with the main party line. So to me, if you can squelch, Jordan said this yesterday, the sidewalks and the highways and the byways, and they still are public forums for free speech, and you see that in these protests going on, but these social media platforms are too. And they're not regulated the same way, obviously. True Social is at least giving us a voice that we can get our message out. Rumble, I think, the same thing, very fair to say. But these others, I mean, you're getting viewpoint discrimination on a daily basis. But if they can shut down dissent, they really win.
They want to approve our language, they want to approve our opinions, and they want to cancel us when they don't approve our opinions. And look, this is a crisis of epic proportion. We saw during the campaign of 2020, Twitter completely have a meltdown about the New York Post story, the Hunter Biden laptop. It all turned out to be true. We now see Sussman, who is going through the court system, and Robbie Mook, who was Hillary Clinton's chief of staff, admitted that Hillary Clinton just approved sending this information to a reporter who swallowed it hook, line, and sinker, and all of Washington ran with a fake news story. If you challenged that story back then, you were canceled or you were kicked off social media. This is a crisis for America. This is only accepted in Washington, D.C. as something that they can control speech, which is why they're now abandoning it, because the Biden team and Democrats were so surprised that people wanted free speech and didn't want government approving their language.
You know, Rick, yesterday we launched ACLJ Action. We've got a great, again, initial support for that. People really responded, and I thank you to all of you did. And one of the top points, one of the first things we want to be able to do with ACLJ Action, the reason why we created this new entity, is to go to war with a lot of these big tech companies, especially these content platforms who are taking – and what they will do is take whatever this disinformation comes out of the DHS board and whatever they say and implement, because they want their Section 230 liability protections in place, and they want their treatment in place the way they've been allowed to function economically. And so they're not going to question, like you just said about the media, they're not going to question it either, because they want their bigger economic protections. And we've got to go to war with that. It's why we launched, one of the reasons why we launched ACLJ Actions. We've seen the significant change in the ability to reach people through these content platforms. Even if you've got, like we do, millions of folks on your Facebook page, it's still difficult to reach them.
And Jordan, as I texted you yesterday when I heard this news, I said, count me in. I am all in. This is so exciting. One of the first things that we should do is figure out which members of Congress are taking big tech money and then also trying to shut down dissent. Because if they're taking big tech money while at the same time going after people who have posting dissenting information, these are the enforcers of fascism. And we need to call them out. We need to say, you're taking money and then shutting down dissent. This is, one of the reasons why I believe first and second generation Americans have come over to conservatives and Donald Trump like never before, because they are the canaries in the coal mine for what's happening. They saw it in their country, fascism, totalitarianism, and now they're seeing what's happening in this country, where the media and big tech are colluding to shut down dissent.
Hey, Rick, I wanted to ask you a political thing here, and that is we've got this really close Senate race for the GOP Senate. And I think both leading candidates are capable of winning the general. I think Dr. Oz is up by about 750,000 votes. Dave McCormick down about 1,000 votes. President Trump backed Dr. Oz. I've known Dr. Oz. Let me ask you this. I mean, I don't see any way in which the Republicans do not get the House. But when it comes to the Senate, what do you think? That Pennsylvania race is going to be critical, so we got to maintain a seat.
The Pennsylvania race is critical. Look, when you talk about the Senate, what you really start to do is you have to assume, and these are tough assumptions, and we got to work hard for them, but you got to assume that we hold Wisconsin, we hold Ohio, and we hold Pennsylvania. And then we got to make moves, and I think the best two moves to make are Nevada, number one. Adam Laxalt's doing a great job. Yep. It looks like he's going to be able to flip that seat. And then the second seat is Georgia. So all of those assumptions, I should also put in there the assumption of holding North Carolina. So we have to hold Wisconsin, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio. That's a hard proposition to win all four of those and hold those, and then go on the offense and make up ground in two other states to try to win at least one, possibly two. This is it's a tough map, but it's doable this year.
Yeah, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, we knew, Rick, this was going to be even with the House, which I think is a very difficult question. Everybody's up for re-election. You've seen all these massive retirement waves. The Senate operates differently, so it's on these staggered, basically, different. You got about 33, 34 up. You got some vacancies, some retirements, some incumbents gone. But ultimately here, it will take a massive amount of support for those candidates to take back the Senate. Even, taking for granted how it looks very good for Republicans right now, people have got to get out there in the primaries, choose the good candidates, and then get ready to unify. That's going to be very important as well. You can have tough primaries and still unify so that you can take back the Senate. Because even when you have an election that feels like it's going to go your way, like you just pointed out, it's going to be one or two states that decide who controls the U.S. Senate, who is the majority leader.
I should also add Arizona to that, because Arizona is a possible flip, and we've got a couple of good candidates. I've endorsed Jim Layman there. And we got a couple of good candidates. But you're exactly right. We've got to go on the offense. We've got to be able to do this. I want to add one more race that recently came up, and people might be surprised by it. But there are some data pointing to the fact that Dick Blumenthal in Connecticut may be in trouble. And he's having some hard times campaigning. He's had some health issues. He's looking like he might be too old to take on the responsibility and the pressure. He's had some moments where we're questioning whether or not he's all there. And so a lot of Republicans are beginning to get really excited about Connecticut. And so I would just add Connecticut as a possible surprise.
I mean, that is how, folks, and those are the kind of states, Dad, that when you add a state, when you put those in play, you're in a good spot as conservatives, as Republicans, but you've got to get to the finish line.
No question about it. And the fact is, we are now, and Rick, I appreciate everything you said as always, and appreciate your encouragement on this. But now is the time. I mean, this is a critical year. Everybody says every year is critical, but look what we're dealing with. Runaway inflation, gas prices look, I can afford the gas. but it is breathtaking when it's $105. I know Rick in California is worse than that. And then you got the whole situation with the war in Eastern Europe, and you think to yourself, is this Jimmy Carter 1977 all over again, or worse? That's why you fight back, and that's why we formed ACLJ Action, acljaction.org.